Anwar Sadat. The president of Egypt was watching an annual military parade in Cairo surrounded by high-ranking officials. Suddenly, one of the military trucks in the parade stopped, and soldiers jumped out throwing grenades and firing assault rifles directly at the viewing grandstand. Caligula. He was one of Rome's most chaotic emperors. He treated people terribly and allegedly tried to make his horse a politician. Eventually, his own guard detail had enough. While he was walking through a crowded, narrow underground corridor after a public sporting event, his guards turned on him, striking him over 30 times in broad daylight. Hypatia. She was a famous female mathematician and philosopher in Egypt. Because of her political influence, a furious mob dragged her out of her carriage in the middle of a crowded street. They pulled her into a nearby church, stripped her clothes, and brutally murdered her using sharp tiles and pottery shards before parading through the city. Thomas Becket. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury. After a huge political argument with King Henry II, 4 knights took the king's words literally and rode out to eliminate Becket. They walked right into the crowded Canterbury Cathedral during evening prayers and sliced him down directly in front of the altar. William Wallace. The Scottish hero who fought against England was eventually captured and charged with high treason. He was tied to horses and dragged naked through the crowded streets of London for miles before being publicly hung, drawn, and quartered in front of thousands of cheering spectators. Joan of Arc. The teenage peasant girl who led French armies was captured by the English and put on trial for heresy. At just 19 years old, she was tied to a tall wooden pillar in the crowded marketplace of Rouen and burned alive. The executioner later stated he feared he was damned for killing a holy person. Thomas Cromwell. He was King Henry VIII's chief minister, but after a failed political marriage alliance, the king turned on him. He was brought to a massive public crowd at Tower Hill. The executioner was incredibly inexperienced and took multiple hacking, unmerciful strikes with the axe just to finish the job. Mary, Queen of Scots. After being accused of plotting to assassinate her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, Mary was sentenced to death. Hundreds of nobles packed into a great hall to watch. It took the nervous executioner 3 full swings of the axe to completely sever her head. King Charles I of England. After losing a massive civil war against his own parliament, he was put on trial for treason. On a freezing January morning, he was led out onto a public scaffold outside Whitehall Palace. A massive crowd gathered to watch the executioner drop the axe. The crowd's reaction was described as a giant, collective groan of absolute horror. Robert François Damiens. He attempted to assassinate King Louis XV with a penknife. His punishment was a brutal public dismemberment by 4 horses in Paris. The execution was so horrific that it lasted for hours in front of a massive crowd, and the executioners eventually had to use blades because the horses couldn't pull his limbs apart. Abraham Lincoln. Right as the American Civil War ended, Lincoln went to Ford's Theater to watch a comedy. An actor and Confederate sympathizer named John Wilkes Booth snuck into the unguarded presidential box and shot Lincoln in the back of the head. Booth then jumped 12 feet down onto the stage, shouting at the stunned crowd before escaping. Tsar Alexander II. He survived several assassination attempts, but his luck ran out in St. Petersburg. A revolutionary threw a bomb under his bulletproof carriage. The bomb exploded, hurting bystanders. When the Tsar stepped out of the carriage to help the wounded, a second assassin ran up and threw another bomb right at his feet. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. While driving through Sarajevo, his driver took a wrong turn and accidentally stalled the open-top car right in front of a cafe. Standing outside that exact cafe was an assassin named Gavrilo Princip. He pulled his pistol and fired 2 shots point-blank. This single public moment sparked World War I. Grigory Rasputin. The mystical advisor to the Russian royal family was targeted by nobles. First, they fed him poison cakes, which did nothing. Then they shot him in the back, but he woke up and ran into a courtyard. They shot him multiple times again, beat him, and finally threw him into a frozen river where he finally succumbed. King Alexander I. This was one of the first political assassinations ever caught on actual film. While driving through the crowded streets of Marseille, France, a gunman jumped onto the running board of the king's open car and opened fire. The chaotic aftermath was fully captured by news cameras. Mahatma Gandhi. Known globally for leading nonviolent protests, Gandhi was walking to a public prayer meeting in New Delhi, surrounded by a crowd of supporters. An extremist stepped out from the crowd, bowed to Gandhi out of respect, and then pulled out a pistol and shot him 3 times at point-blank range. John F. Kennedy. While riding in an open presidential limousine through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, massive crowds lined the streets to wave at him. Suddenly, multiple gunshots rang out from a nearby book depository building. The entire tragic event was captured on a home video camera by a bystander. Malcolm X. The famous civil rights leader was standing at a podium in a New York ballroom, preparing to address an audience of 400 people. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted a distraction. As Malcolm's bodyguards moved to see what was happening, gunmen rushed the stage and opened fire in front of the entire room. Martin Luther King Jr. The iconic civil rights leader was standing on the second-floor balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, speaking with his associates down in the parking lot. A sniper fired a single shot from a nearby rooming house window, striking him in broad daylight. Hit that subscribe button for more fast history breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next video.